A crown hits the cobblestones. Purple silk tears. An emperor charging with a sword. May 29th, 1453. Constantinople. Constantine XI, last Roman emperor, just became a foot soldier. In this video, how Rome took 1,000 years to die, the 3 decisions that sealed its fate, and why the final emperor chose to die fighting rather than fleeing. Let's start with the moment he realizes there's no escape. Constantine stands on the walls. Dawn breaks over Constantinople. He can see the Ottoman army, 80,000 men. Maybe more. He counts his own defenders, 7,000. Maybe 8 if you count the wounded who can still hold a sword. The math is simple. The math is brutal. His advisors already suggested escape. There are ships in the harbor, Venetian ships, Genoese ships. They could get him out, take him to Italy, keep the government in exile alive, keep the dream of Rome breathing. He said no. Here's what most people don't know about Constantine XI. He wasn't supposed to be emperor. He was the 4th son. 4th sons don't inherit empires. They become governors of minor provinces if they're lucky. But his 3 older brothers died. Plague, politics, bad luck. So in 1449, at age 44, Constantine became the ruler of an empire that barely existed anymore. By the time he took the throne, the Roman Empire controlled exactly 2 things: the city of Constantinople, and some territory in southern Greece called the Morea. That's it. That's the empire. A city and a peninsula. Everything else was gone. Quick side note. When Constantine became emperor, he knew the Ottomans were coming. Everyone knew. Sultan Mehmed II made it very clear. He was building a fortress on the European side of the Bosphorus specifically to cut off Constantinople from any help. Constantine sent diplomats. Mehmed ignored them. Constantine offered tribute. Mehmed wanted the city. Back to the walls. Constantine looks at his men. Most of them aren't even Roman. They're Genoese mercenaries led by a guy named Giovanni, Giustiniani, Venetian volunteers, some Greeks from the countryside, a few Catalans. The actual native Roman defenders number maybe 2,000. This is what Rome became, a cosmopolitan city defended by foreigners while its emperor prepares to die. But here's where it gets interesting. How did it come to this? How does an empire that once controlled the entire Mediterranean end up with 1 city and 7,000 desperate men? The answer takes us back exactly 1,000 years. Let's rewind. The year is 476 AD. Rome, the Western Roman Empire, just officially collapsed. A barbarian general named Odoacer walks into Ravenna and tells the teenage emperor Romulus Augustulus to pack his bags. The boy emperor abdicates. No dramatic last stand, no heroic death. He just leaves. And with that, the Western Empire ends. But here's what's crucial. The Eastern Empire, Constantinople, doesn't fall. It survives. It thrives, actually. While the West crumbles into barbarian kingdoms, the East keeps going. They still call themselves Romans. They still have the bureaucracy, the tax system, the army. They think they'll outlast this crisis like they've outlasted every other crisis. They're wrong, but they don't know that yet. The man watching the West collapse is Emperor Zeno. He rules from Constantinople. He sees what's happening in Italy, Gaul, Hispania, Britain. He sees the Franks, the Visigoths, the Vandals carving up the corpse of the West. Zeno makes a decision. He decides the East will survive by being pragmatic. He recognizes Odoacer's authority in Italy, sends him official titles, basically says, "You rule the West, we rule the East. Let's not fight about it. This is the first mistake." By recognizing the barbarian kingdoms, Zeno establishes a precedent. Rome can lose territory and keep going. Rome can shrink and still call itself Rome. The empire becomes negotiable. Once you establish that Rome is negotiable, it never stops shrinking. For the next 50 years, the Eastern Empire actually does pretty well. It's rich. Constantinople is the wealthiest city in the world. The tax revenue from Egypt, Syria, and Anatolia keeps everything running. The emperors build churches, fund the army, maintain the roads. Then comes Justinian. The year is 527. Justinian becomes emperor. He has a vision. He wants to reconquer the West, restore the full Roman Empire, make it like it was before the barbarians came. So he sends his general Belisarius west with an army. And it works. Sort of. Belisarius reconquers North Africa from the Vandals in 533, reconquers Italy from the Ostrogoths by 540, even grabs part of Spain from the Visigoths. For a brief moment, maybe 20 years, it looks like the empire is coming back. But here's the problem. Reconquering territory is expensive. Holding it is even more expensive. Justinian empties the treasury to fund these wars. He raises taxes to levels people can't pay. He strips the eastern frontier of troops to send them west. And while he's busy reconquering the West, something else is happening in the east. Plague. The plague of Justinian hits in 541. It kills somewhere between 25 and 50 million people. Constantinople loses maybe half its population. The tax base collapses. The army can't recruit. The economy implodes. Justinian reconquered the West just in time to watch it all fall apart again. Within 50 years of his death, almost everything he reconquered is lost. The Lombards take Italy. The Visigoths retake Spain. And then something worse happens. Islam. The year is 634. Arab armies united under a new religion explode out of the Arabian Peninsula. They hit the Roman provinces in Syria and Palestine first. The Roman army, exhausted from decades of war with Persia, can't stop them. Syria falls in 636. Egypt falls in 642. North Africa falls by 698. In 60 years, Rome loses half its territory and 2/3 of its revenue. This is the second mistake. Justinian's wars weakened the empire so much that when the real threat came, there was nothing left to stop it. Quick thing. If you're enjoying this so far, hit the like button. Seriously, it helps way more than you'd think. Back to the story. So now it's the year 700. The Roman Empire controls Anatolia, the Balkans, parts of Greece, and some islands. That's it. Gone are Egypt, Syria, North Africa, Spain, Italy. The empire is a fraction of what it was, but it survives. For another 700 years, it survives. How? The answer is actually fascinating. The empire survives by becoming smaller, tougher, and more Greek. The official language shifts from Latin to Greek. The administration becomes more centralized. The military reorganizes into themes, basically military districts where soldiers farm land in exchange for service. It's not the old Roman Empire anymore. It's something new. Historians call it the Byzantine Empire. But the people living there still call themselves Romans. And for a while, this actually works. The 9th and 10th centuries are pretty good for Constantinople. They push the Arabs back, reconquer some territory in the east. The economy stabilizes. There's a cultural renaissance. But the empire never fully recovers. It never gets back Egypt or Syria. It never restores the tax base. And that means it can never afford the kind of army it needs to defend its borders. Which brings us to November 26, 1071. A place called Manzikert in eastern Anatolia. The Roman Emperor Romanos IV faces a Seljuk Turkish army. Romanos has maybe 40,000 men. The Turks have similar numbers. It should be a fair fight. It's not. The Roman army includes unreliable mercenaries, Turkic auxiliaries who switch sides mid-battle, units that haven't been paid in months. When the fighting starts, half the army deserts or defects. Romanos is captured. The Romans are routed. And in the aftermath, Anatolia, the heartland of the empire, is wide open to Turkish settlement. This is the third mistake, the one that seals Rome's fate. After Manzikert, Turkish tribes pour into Anatolia, not as conquerors, as settlers. They bring their families, their herds, their entire way of life. Within 20 years, most of Anatolia is Turkish-speaking and Muslim. Rome loses its recruiting ground, its agricultural heartland, its strategic depth. From this point on, the empire is dying. It just takes 400 years to finish the job. The next centuries are a slow-motion catastrophe. The empire shrinks and shrinks. It loses territory to the Turks in the east, loses territory to the Normans in the west, loses territory to rebellious provinces that carve out independent kingdoms. And then comes 1204, the Fourth Crusade. Western European crusaders who are supposed to be going to fight Muslims in the Holy Land get sidetracked. They decide to sack Constantinople instead. Why? Money, politics, religious rivalry between Catholic and Orthodox Christianity. Take your pick. The Crusaders break into Constantinople in April 1204. They spend 3 days looting the richest city in Christendom. They steal everything: art, gold, religious relics, books. They destroy what they can't carry. They rape and murder civilians. The Roman Empire fragments into exile. The government flees to Nicaea in Anatolia. Constantinople becomes the capital of a Latin empire run by Frankish nobles who don't speak Greek and don't understand the bureaucracy they just inherited. It takes 57 years for the Romans to retake their own capital. In 1261, Emperor Michael VIII sneaks a small army into Constantinople, while the Latin garrison is away. He recaptures the city without a fight. The empire is restored, but it's not really restored. It's a shell. Constantinople controls the city itself and some territory in Greece. That's it. The population of Constantinople is maybe 50,000. It used to be 500,000. The empire is broke. The navy is gone. The walls are falling apart. The neighborhoods inside the city are abandoned. Weeds grow in the forums where emperors once paraded. And outside the walls, a new power is rising: the Ottomans. They start as one small Turkish tribe among many in Anatolia. But they're led by capable sultans who know how to fight and how to govern. They expand slowly, carefully, absorbing Byzantine territory piece by piece. By 1400, Constantinople is an island in an Ottoman sea. The empire controls the city and nothing else. The Ottomans control everything around it: Anatolia, the Balkans, Greece. The emperors send desperate letters to the West. Please send help. Please send an army. We're the last Christian city in the East. If we fall, the Ottomans will invade Europe. The West sends thoughts and prayers. Occasionally, some Genoese mercenaries. That's it. We're getting to the most intense part. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. There's a video like this every week. Let's see what happens next. April 6th, 1453. Sultan Mehmed II arrives outside Constantinople with his army. He's 21 years old. This is his moment. He's going to do what every other Ottoman sultan failed to do. He's going to take Constantinople. He brings 80,000 soldiers. He brings massive cannons, the biggest anyone has ever built. One of them is 27 feet long and fires stone balls weighing 200 pounds. He brings a fleet of ships to blockade the harbor. Constantine XI watches from the walls. He has 7,000 men, maybe 8,000. The walls are strong, but they're 1,000 years old. Nobody knows if they can withstand these new cannons. Constantine sends one last offer to Mehmed. He'll pay any tribute, recognize Ottoman supremacy, anything except surrender the city. Mehmed says no. He wants the city. The siege begins. For 6 weeks, the Ottomans bombard the walls. The massive cannons fire day and night. Slowly, sections of the wall start to crumble. The defenders patch the breaches with wood and rubble. It's not enough. Giovanni Giustiniani, the Genoese mercenary commander, is the real hero of the defense. He's everywhere at once, organizing repairs, leading counterattacks, keeping morale up. Without him, the city would have fallen in days. But on May 29th, during the final assault, Giustiniani takes a crossbow bolt to the chest. He's badly wounded. He asks permission to retreat to a ship to get medical treatment. Constantine begs him to stay. If Giustiniani leaves, the soldiers will panic. Giustiniani leaves anyway. He's bleeding out. He dies a few days later on a ship. The moment Giustiniani is carried off the walls, the Genoese mercenaries start to waver. If their commander is leaving, why should they stay? The Ottomans sense the weakness. They surge forward. They find a small gate, the Kirkaporta, that someone forgot to lock. They pour through. Constantine is at a different section of wall. Someone runs up to him. The Ottomans are inside the city. The walls are breached. This is the moment. Constantine could run. There are still ships in the harbor. He could escape to Italy, live in exile, keep the dream alive. Instead, he takes off his imperial regalia, the purple cloak, the crown. He drops them on the ground. He draws his sword. He tells the men around him, "The city is falling. I will not live to see it taken." He charges into the Ottoman lines. Nobody knows exactly how Constantine died. There are no eyewitnesses who survived. Some sources say he was cut down immediately in the fighting. Others say he fought his way deep into the enemy formation before being overwhelmed. His body was never identified. Too many corpses, too much chaos. The Ottomans later claimed they found a body in purple boots and declared it the emperor, but nobody knows for sure. What we do know is this: Constantine XI, the last Roman emperor, died on his feet with a sword in his hand. Fighting in the streets of the city, his empire could no longer defend. Remember the crown hitting the cobblestones? That moment when Constantine stripped off his imperial regalia and became just another soldier, that's the moment Rome truly ended. Not when Odoacer deposed Romulus, Augustulus, in 476. Not when the Turks took Anatolia in 1071. Not when the Crusaders sacked Constantinople in 1204. Rome ended when its last emperor decided that dying as a Roman mattered more than surviving as a refugee. Constantine knew what historians would spend centuries debating. He knew the empire was already dead. He'd been ruling a ghost for 4 years. The treasury was empty. The population was gone. The walls were crumbling. The army was mercenaries who'd leave the moment the pay stopped. But the idea of Rome, that still existed. And Constantine understood that how Rome ended mattered. If he fled, Rome ends with an emperor running away. Pathetic, weak, forgettable. If he died fighting, Rome ends with courage, defiance, dignity. So he chose the sword. The Ottomans spent 3 days looting Constantinople. They turned the Hagia Sophia into a mosque. They renamed the city Istanbul. They built an empire that would last another 400 years, but they couldn't kill what Constantine died to preserve. The memory of Rome. The idea that there was once a civilization that spanned continents, that built roads and aqueducts and laws, that believed in citizenship and justice and the rule of law. Every time someone talks about democracy, they're echoing Rome. Every time a country builds a senate or writes a constitution, they're echoing Rome. Every time someone says equal before the law, they're echoing Rome. Constantine didn't save the empire, but he saved what the empire meant, and maybe that's worth dying for. If you made it this far, seriously, thank you. These take work, and knowing people watch to the end matters. Drop a comment. Did you know about Constantine XI before this? What other last stands from history should become a video? Subscribe if you want more stories like this. New video every week. See you next video.